This is a heartfelt story about a son and his dad, filled with love and lessons. He hadn't spoken to his son in years, till a single phone call brought them back together. The old pickup coughed awake like it always had, reluctantly, stubbornly, as if it knew its time was almost up. Thomas sat behind the wheel, staring at the familiar crack in the windshield. He could still see the faint scratch where his son Ethan had once traced his name with a stone. Years ago, giggling when Thomas pretended to be angry. Now the house was silent. The laughter had long since faded into echoes of memory. Ethan was gone. Not gone in the forever sense, at least not yet. He had left home 2 years ago, chasing dreams Thomas never understood. "I can't live my life in the same town, Dad," Ethan had said. "I need to see the world, make something of myself." Thomas, a man who'd spent his life fixing engines and roofs and fences, had only nodded, pretending not to care. But when the bus pulled away that morning, his hands had trembled so badly he couldn't even light his cigarette. Now, 2 years later, Ethan was coming home, not for Christmas, not for a visit, but because of a phone call. Car accident. Not fatal, thank God, but close enough that it shook Ethan to his core. The doctors said he'd recover. The voice on the phone said he needed someone to drive him home. So Thomas drove. Miles of quiet roads stretched before him, framed by the fading gold of late afternoon. He had unspoken to his son in months, not since their last fight over the family business and wasting potential. The last words between them were sharp, the kind that left cuts on the inside of your chest. He remembered them now, over the hum of the tires. "You don't get it, Dad. I don't want your kind of life. My kind of life built this roof over your head. I didn't ask for it. You're right, you didn't. Maybe I should have let you figure it out the hard way." He'd slammed the door after that. Ethan had driven off. Neither of them had said sorry. When Thomas arrived at the hospital, Ethan looked smaller than he remembered, bandaged arm, a cast on his leg, and a fragile quiet that didn't fit the boy who used to fill every room with noise. "Hey, Dad," Ethan said softly. Thomas swallowed. "Okay, kid." For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then Thomas took a breath. "You ready to go home?" Ethan nodded, eyes glancing toward the window. "Yeah. Been ready for a while." They drove in silence for the first half hour. The road wound through forests that looked the same, but somehow felt different. The radio played quietly old songs from Thomas's youth, and occasionally Ethan would hum along off-key. It felt like something fragile was healing, slowly, painfully. Finally, Ethan spoke. "I thought I had everything figured out, you know? The city, the job, the noise. But after the crash, all I could think about was home." Thomas didn't respond right away. He just gripped the wheel tighter. "I used to think you stayed here because you were afraid," Ethan continued. "But I think I get it now. You stayed because you loved it, because it mattered." Thomas's throat tightened. He wanted to say, "I always loved you more than this town," but the words stayed trapped somewhere behind pride and fear. They passed the old oak tree near the bend, the one where Ethan had carved his initials when he was 10. "E+T still there," Thomas said quietly. Ethan smiled. "Guess some things don't change?" The last stretch of road led up to the house. The porch light was still broken, the gravel still uneven, but the air felt. A home had a way of forgiving what people couldn't. As Thomas helped his son out of the truck, Ethan winced, but didn't complain. "You still drive this thing?" he joked, patting the hood. "Runs fine," Thomas said. "Just needs a little fixing now and then." "So do we," Ethan murmured. Thomas froze in for the first time in years. He smiled. "Yeah," he said, "we do." They sat on the porch that evening, side by side, watching the sun sink behind the fields. The silence between them wasn't heavy anymore. It was full of unspoken understanding, of love that had always been there, waiting beneath the noise. Finally, Thomas reached over and placed a rough, oil-stained hand on his son's shoulder. "I wasn't a perfect dad," he said, voice trembling slightly. Ethan looked up. "You were the one I needed." And in that simple exchange, years of anger melted away. The night came quietly, carrying with it the smell of earth and pine and home. Inside, the kettle began to whistle, the same one Thomas's late wife used to use every evening. Ethan stood slowly, limping toward the door. "Come on, Dad, tea's ready." Thomas looked at him, taller now, older, but still that boy who once traced his name on the windshield. He followed him inside, the door closing gently behind them. The old truck sat outside, bathed in moonlight. For the first time in years, it didn't look lonely. Really appreciate you tuning in. Comment below what line or moment hit you the hardest. I'm replying to every comment.